Hello, welcome back to the channel, and this is a channel where we give you reviews, playthroughs, unboxings, and we generally like to talk a load of bollocks. A tabletop gaming in general, and in this video we're going to be talking about a themeless tableau building game. We're going to be talking about Space Base. Yes, it's the command station thing, because we got the expansion through the boxway, but shut up. In this game, you will be rolling dice, taking rewards from the cards that you've already got, and then you'll be buying cards in the hope that it will give you 40 victory points that will allow you to win the game. So in this video, we're going to be giving you a very brief overview of the rules. We're telling you what we do like, what we don't like. And we'll come back and we'll tell you whether or not Space Base is still worth playing 3 years after it was first released in 2018. So remember, if you're new here, please consider subscribing to this channel if you ain't already. Hit the like button, all that bollocks, and we'll see you after this. Bollocks. So, Space Base. How'd you play this game? So, Space Base is essentially a tableau building game where you'll be racing to get to 40 victory points before anybody else. You'll take your command console, which is basically like a board that sprawls out in front of you. You'll place cubes on each of the 3 different tracks, and you'll place out your starting cards that are numbered from 1 to 12 in the relevant spots, right? You'll stick out a number of level 1, 2, 3 cards, and you'll stick the colony cards out on the table, usually in the center of the table, right? There are charge cubes that are used to charge cards, funnily enough, and you'll place the dice, or if you've got the expansion like we got, everyone will get their own set of custom dice. Lovely. So you'll choose a start player, and on your turn, you'll roll the dice, and then you will make a choice. You'll be able to take the sum of the dice, or you'll be able to split the dice up and choose the number that's on one and the other, right? You'll look at your command console on the number that you rolled, depending on what you chose, and then you'll look at the reward with the blue background on that slot, and you'll take the reward. Everybody else will look at any of the red rewards that are in that slot. These are cards that will be turned upside down and tucked underneath, and they'll take their rewards as well. So once you've done that, then you'll get the opportunity to buy a card from the display. You'll have to use all of your cash to buy a card. You don't get any change. You'll choose a card to buy. You'll use all of your money, and then you'll remove the existing card from that slot. You'll place the new card in the slot, because the number's in the corner, right? It tells you where to put it. And then you'll turn the old card upside down. You'll put it in the deployed slot, and this will give you a benefit on somebody else's turn if they roll that number. So once you've done that, your turn ends and it moves to the next person. There's one thing you've got to be mindful of in this game, is that there's 2 types of things. There's rewards and abilities, right? Abilities have to be charged up with charge cubes first, right? So the actual reward of charging up an ability is sticking a charge cube on there, and then you'll be able to use that depending on the color of the ability, right? So there's loads of different cards you could buy. Like we said, there's different levels of card strength. The higher the level, the better the ability, but also the more expensive the card is going to be. So different types of cards that you could buy. You might have cards that let you swap sectors, in which case you'll be able to swap one card, say the 4, with the number 12 and ignore the number on the card. You might buy a card that allows you to buy a card or claim a card. If you buy a card, it allows you to buy an extra card on your turn, or claim a card means you can just pick one up for nothing. Imagine that. There are cards with dice and arrows on them, and what this means is, because it's a green ability, you can do it on your turn or somebody else's. You'll add the sum of the dice together. You'll look at where that slot is. So if the dice add up to 6, you'll be able to go to number 6, and then depending on how many arrows there are, you'll be able to activate the ability of the slot that is 1 or 2 away from that. And these chain together, so if you've got an arrow in that slot next to it, then you can move it up to the next one, right? So it allows you to trigger more powerful abilities without rolling the dice, because whereas the higher numbers, the 10, 11 and 12, are very, very difficult to get because the probability of rolling them is very slim, that means that the abilities that they hold are very powerful. So chaining these things together allows you to get to those more lucrative abilities quicker. So there's cards that give you victory points, there's cards that give you money, and there's cards that bump up your income. So whenever you spend all your cash on a card, the higher up your income is, you get this money back once you've blown all your wad, right? There's cards that let you set the dice to whatever you want, right? So you'll just choose a number on one of the dice and then you'll roll the other one. And there's a card in there that lets you win the game. If you charge it up with 3 cubes and you roll a 12 or you get to activate the 12 station, then you win the game and you can tell everyone else to fuck off. So there's loads of different cards in there. They're all pretty much really good. Some of them are a little bit more complex because they've got text on them, and there's some stuff to do with placing charge cubes on there and ignoring some dots and all that sort of stuff. But essentially you'll keep doing this. You'll keep rolling dice, taking rewards, activating abilities until someone gets to 40 victory points, and the first person to do that will be the winner of Space Base. So what do we like about Space Base? So the first thing that we like about Space Base is that this game is so fast paced. You don't even get time to blink and it's your turn again, right? This is the board game equivalent of doing a couple of wraps of amphetamine sulfate. Yeah, this reminds me of my rave days back in 1993. Well, actually it doesn't really. I'm just using that analogy for effect, right? But yeah, this game is very fast paced because there's not really that much you got to do. You roll the dice, you take the reward, and bang, it's somebody else's go, right? So even with 6 or 7 players, this game plays with 6 or 7 players. If you've got a command station expansion, even with 6 or 7 players, you are going to be bombing through turn after turn, and the game never really slows down, aside from maybe somebody might want to examine the cards in the center of the table, but that don't matter because they can just buy whatever they want. Somebody else can go, you can already have your turn while someone's arsing around with the colony cards. So yeah, fast-paced game. That's what we like. We don't like fucking about. So the second thing that we really like about Space Base is that you're always engaged all the way through this game. From round 1 all the way up to 40 victory points, you are always engaged for the simple fact that you may get something on somebody else's turn. It might turn out that the rewards that you get for deployed cards might be more lucrative than the rewards that you get on your own turn, because you can stack these deployed cards up. They are cumulative. When you roll a number through those stacked deployed cards, it makes a little bit of wee come out, right? It's so exciting to see those numbers come up time and time again. And due to the bell curve nature of the probability of each number coming out, it is also the case that some of these numbers might dry out. So you're going to get the opportunity to invest in other numbers, right? So the fact that you are always busy, always expectant of a bountiful load of rewards, it's absolutely fantastic. So the final thing that we like about Space Base is that this game gathers momentum as the game progresses, because as you're buying more and more cards, you're going to be getting more and more victory points, right? Because you get victory points for the blue rewards that you activate on your own turn. And when you turn these into deployed cards, these still give you victory points. And the more cards you get in your own display and on the deployed display means you're going to be getting more and more victory points, yeah. So the way that this game sort of gathers momentum, coupled with the speed of the actual game itself, means that this is a wild ride, like a really fast roller coaster, and we absolutely love that about this game, yeah. So what don't we like about Space Base? So the first thing that we don't like about Space Base, is sort of the only thing really that sort of drags the game down just a little bit, is that some of the cards can be a little bit confusing, especially for new players trying to explain what the dice and arrow cards mean, and also some of the text-based cards sort of put people off actually sitting down and looking at them and buying them, right? Because they can be a little bit confusing, right? The fact that this game is so fast paced and, like we said, gathers momentum as you progress through the game means that anything that's going to slow the game down by reading a bit of text on a card, even if that's just a tiny little pain in the ass, means that some of these cards don't get bought, right, especially by new players. So it's going to take a few plays of this game to really get into the flow of it and to know how all of the mechanisms and all of the ways to chain cards together is going to work. So the second thing that we don't like about Space Base is that after repeated plays of this, the first few turns can be slightly underwhelming, right? It does take a little while for this game to gather pace. New players aren't going to have a problem with this because it's going to be new to them. They're not really going to know what couples with what cards work with other cards. So they're just going to be happy to get anything they can get their hands on, whether it's on their turn or not, right? But after repeated plays of this, the first few games can feel like you're sort of just trying not to tread in dog shit up until you get a few cards in some of the decent slots and you get some deployed cards out onto your tableau. So the final thing that we don't like about Space Base is that the theme is kind of just bolted on, isn't it? I mean, it doesn't really mean anything, okay? Some of you purist wankers out there might say, well, this actually represents sort of spacecraft docking into your system, but yeah, it doesn't really, does it? It may as well like be baked beans being thrown into a bin. The base theme is a bit feeble, and at the end of the day, it's just a dice chucker where you're going to get shit, right? So to summarise, is Space Base worth your time or bother today and in the future? So we're going to say a resounding yes. This is one of the best games we've played in a very, very long time indeed. The fact that this game keeps you engaged from start to finish and moves so quickly means that it is an absolutely thrilling ride that is sort of unrivaled in these sort of dice chucking games that we've seen before, like Machikora. That is more of a laid back affair, doesn't really grab your attention in the way that this does. The theme does go missing when you're playing this game, right? But that's a minor nitpick, right? I can live with that for the simple fact that this gives me such a fucking buzz that it's addictive. This is a highly addictive game. Once you pack this one up, you just want to play it again and again and again, right? So we wholeheartedly recommend Space Base. If you haven't played this game, you absolutely have to go and get this one, yeah? Doesn't matter how many players you play it with. Well, I wouldn't play it with 2, but you can sprawl this one out, get the expansion, and play it with 6 or 7 players. And I'll go so far as to say that this is probably going to be one of our favourite games of all time, yeah? It's just that good, yeah? That's Space Base. Go and get it. If you ain't got it, then you're a complete and utter mug. Subscribe to this channel if you ain't already. Hit the like button and all that shit. We'll see ya next Tuesday.